You know, some love stories start with flowers and soft music. This one began with an apology, a cracked lip, and a gun that nobody wanted to talk about. Sandra met Keanu on the kind of night people usually try to forget. Rain pressed against the windows of the small diner where she worked, turning the glass into a gray curtain. It was past midnight, the hour when only truckers, lonely souls, and men running from something came in for coffee. Keanu was the last kind. His white shirt was soaked, his knuckles scraped raw, and there was a dark stain spreading under his ribs that was definitely not from the rain. He pushed through the door, eyes scanning the room like he expected bullets instead of music, then lowered his head and walked to the farthest booth. Sandra watched him for a moment, towel in hand, heart beating a little faster without knowing why. She had seen rough men before, the neighborhood was full of them. But there was something different in the way this one sat, like he was trying to make himself smaller, like he was ashamed to take up space. When she walked over with the coffee pot, his hand shook slightly as he reached for the cup. He tried to hide it, failed, and gave a small, broken smile. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, as if he had already done her some wrong. "I'll be gone soon, just one coffee, please." His politeness surprised her. Most dangerous men in that part of the city spoke like they owned the air other people breathed. Sandra nodded and poured his coffee, her voice gentle. "Take your time. It's warm in here. That helps more than coffee." For a second, their eyes met. In his, she saw something that didn't fit with the blood on his shirt. Exhaustion, yes, but also a deep, tired kindness, like a man who had spent his whole life apologizing for things he never really wanted to do. She should have turned away, kept the distance that kept her safe. Instead, when she walked back toward the counter, she quietly pulled the first aid kit from under the register. The cook, an old man with kind eyes and tired joints, muttered in Korean that she should leave it. "He's trouble, Sandra. I've seen that look before. Trouble sits like that." She hesitated. Sandra's life had been built out of hesitations. Stay quiet, keep your head down, don't get involved. But lately those rules felt like a slow kind of death. She thought about her mother lying in a hospital bed, the bills stacked on the kitchen table, the way people stepped over each other in this city as if kindness were something no one could afford. Then she looked back at Keanu, huddled alone, bleeding into a napkin he pretended was fine. "Maybe trouble needs a bandage," she answered softly. When she returned to his booth with the small metal box, he looked confused. "You don't have to." "I know," she interrupted, "but I want to." Her hands were steady as she set the kit down. "Lift your shirt just enough so I can see." He swallowed hard, the shame almost heavier than the pain. Every instinct told him to protect her by staying distant, but something in her calm voice disarmed him more than any gun could. He lifted the shirt. The wound was messy but shallow, a grazed bullet wound near his ribs, ugly and angry but not fatal. Sandra cleaned it in silence, her fingers careful, her eyes focused. "What's your name?" she asked after a moment. "Keanu." He spoke like the name tasted strange on his tongue, like he had not said it out loud in a long time. I'm sorry for the blood." "You apologize too much," she said, placing a clean bandage over the cut. "Bad men don't say sorry. You don't look like a bad man." He laughed once, a sad, quiet sound. "I'm not sure the people I work for would agree." He glanced at the door again, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "If anyone comes in looking for me, you didn't see me. You just saw a man paying his bill and leaving early. All right." She held his gaze. "And what do I see if I look at you right now?" The question surprised him. No one had ever asked him that. They only saw the fists, the speed, the easy way he could hurt people when ordered. He took a breath. "Someone trying very hard," he said slowly, "not to become what they're paid to be." Sandra didn't know the details yet. She didn't know about the small gangs that fed off the edges of the bigger ones, about the money he owed, about the one mistake that had dragged him into a life he hated. But she recognized that sentence. She lived in the same city, under different rules, but with the same quiet war inside her, who you are versus who life is forcing you to be. That night, when she brought him a free bowl of soup and pretended it was on special, Keanu realized this stranger was the first person in years to look at him like he was allowed to want something better. The days that followed were the kind that change everything without announcing it. Keanu kept coming back to the diner, always after midnight, always tired, always a little more bruised than before. Sandra started scheduling herself for the late shift on purpose, telling the manager she didn't mind the quiet nights. They talked about small things first: music, old movies on scratched DVDs, the way the city lights looked from her apartment building's roof. Every time Keanu laughed, it came out a little rusty, like a machine that hadn't been used in years, but it grew warmer. Eventually, the truth slipped between them, piece by piece, like confessions whispered in the dark. He told her he worked as a collector for a mid-level crew that answered to a man everyone called Chairman Jai, the kind of Korean crime boss whose name traveled faster than his face. Keanu spoke about it with clear shame, never glamorizing it, never pretending. She learned how he had taken the job to pay off somebody else's debt, how one bad night turned into a life where every day was just surviving the next order. Sandra told him about her mother's illness, about losing her job at a translation office when the company folded, and how the diner was the only place that didn't ask too many questions. She talked about sending money back home, about waking up some nights so tired she forgot what language her dreams were in. Through it all, she remained gentle, refusing to let hardship harden her. "You're the only person I know who talks about other people's problems more than her own," Keanu said once, watching her refill an old man's coffee with the same respect she gave everyone. There was something humbling in the way she treated each customer, no matter how poor, as if they were all carrying stories that deserved to be heard. "If I talk about mine all the time," she replied, "they'll start to sound like excuses. I don't want excuses, I just want a way out." That word "out" started living in Keanu's chest. For the first time, he wanted more than just survival. He wanted a life where he could stand next to this woman in daylight, not just in stolen midnight hours. A life where his hands were used for building instead of breaking. The idea was fragile and dangerous, like holding a lit match over dry paper, but he held it close anyway. The turning point came on a night that smelled like smoke and rain. Keanu's crew had been sent to collect from a small shop owner who had missed 3 payments. By the rules of the world he lived in, the lesson should have been brutal. But when he saw the frightened boy hiding behind the counter, clinging to his father's leg, something in Keanu snapped. He remembered Sandra's words, her belief that he wasn't a bad man, and for once he chose to act like she was right. He told the shop owner to keep his money. "You pay me when you can," he said quietly, "and if anyone else comes, you say you already dealt with it." When his partner protested, Keanu stepped between them, willing to take the blame. It was an act of kindness, but in their world, kindness was a kind of rebellion. By morning, Chairman Jai knew everything. 2 nights later, Keanu stumbled into the diner with a cut over his eye and a warning on his tongue. They had given him a choice: leave the city in 48 hours and disappear, or come to the chairman's private club and discuss his future. Both options sounded like different shades of death. Sandra cleaned his wound in the back room, her hands angrier than her voice. "You helped that man," she said, fighting tears. "You did the right thing." "In my line of work," Keanu answered, "the right thing is just the most expensive mistake." They both knew running wouldn't be simple. The city had long arms, and Chairman Jai had longer ones. If Keanu disappeared, the people he had protected might pay the price in his place. If he stayed, the punishment would be brutal and public, a message to anyone else who thought about growing a conscience. That night after the diner closed, Sandra did something she had never done before. She took off her apron, sat opposite Keanu in the empty booth, and placed both hands over his. "Then we don't run in the dark," she said softly. "We walk into the light and face him together." He stared at her, stunned. "Sandra, this isn't your fight." She shook her head. "You think kindness doesn't cost anything. It does. I've been paying all my life. Maybe this time I decide what it buys." Her courage humbled him. Keanu had spent years believing that bravery was measured in bruises and scars. But in that moment, he realized real courage sometimes looked like a woman with tired eyes choosing to stand beside a doomed man anyway. He squeezed her hands, knowing he had no right to accept her loyalty, and yet unable to push it away. The next evening, dressed in borrowed clothes that made them look stronger than they felt, Sandra and Keanu walked through the golden doors of Chairman Jai's private club. The air smelled of expensive liquor and danger, the kind that smiled before it bit. Music drifted through the room, soft and slow, out of place in a world built on fear. At the far end, under a chandelier that spilled light like liquid, Chairman Jai waited in a white suit, his gaze sharp and unreadable. His eyes moved from Keanu's bruised face to Sandra's steady posture, and something like interest flickered there. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, almost gentle. "The woman," he said, nodding toward Sandra, "stays. You and I, Keanu, we have a different conversation to finish." Sandra felt Keanu's hand tighten around hers, and in that small, desperate pressure she understood. Whatever happened next would either save them both, or tear their lives apart in a way they could never undo. The guards moved closer, but Keanu didn't let go of Sandra's hand. His shoulders squared, jaw tight. He stepped slightly in front of her like a shield that knew it would eventually break. Chairman Jai watched them with an almost bored interest, the kind a man has when he's seen too many people beg. He swirled the drink in his glass, then nodded toward Keanu's bruised face. "You disobeyed a direct order," Jai said. "You protected a man who owed me money. You lied on the report, and now you walk in here bringing this woman like it's a romantic movie instead of my house." Keanu's voice stayed steady. "Punish me, leave her out of it." Sandra felt fear crawl up her spine, but she didn't stay quiet. "I walked in by myself," she said. "He didn't bring me. I came because he did something kind and you want to crush him for it." The room went very still. One of the guards shifted, ready for a gesture that might end everything, but Jai only raised an eyebrow. "Kindness," he repeated. "Do you know what kindness did to me, miss?" "Sandra," she answered. "Just Sandra." He studied her face for a long moment, as if weighing something against an old memory. Then he gave a soft, humorless laugh. "Once I helped a man everyone else wanted dead," Jai said quietly. "I hid him, fed him, gave him a chance. He killed my younger brother for the reward money." Keanu swallowed. "I'm not that man." "I know," Jai replied. "That's what makes this interesting." He stood, slow and deliberate, and walked around them like a teacher circling two careless students. The music from the main hall drifted in, muffled, as if another life was happening just beyond the wall. "You, Keanu, are useful," Jai said. "You're loyal fast and you can be cruel when required, but you are also soft." He tapped Keanu's chest with one finger. "You still believe in lines you won't cross. That makes you dangerous." He turned to Sandra. "And you should not be here at all. You speak 3 languages. You could work in an office, a company, a government building. Instead, you're serving coffee to men who forget your name. Why?" Sandra's voice didn't shake. "Because life doesn't always care about our plans." Jai studied her a moment longer, then nodded slowly, deciding something. "I could kill him," he said calmly to Sandra, "and send you home with enough money to pay your mother's bills twice over. That would be simple. Or—" He sat back down, folding his hands. "Or I could offer you both a different future." The word hung in the air like a fragile bridge. "A future where your mother is treated in the best hospital," Jai continued. "Where you don't work nights in a diner, where you are safe under my protection far from this city's dirty corners." Sandra frowned. "What's the cost?" Jai smiled, and it did not reach his eyes. "The cost is honesty. You accept that men like me run this world. You accept my rules. You work for my legitimate businesses, translation, contracts, meetings. You live well. You forget this place, this booth, these wounds." He paused, then looked straight at Keanu. "And you forget him." Keanu froze. Sandra's fingers tightened around his until they hurt. "If you want your new life," Jai said to her, voice almost gentle, "you walk out of here alone tonight. The girl who looked at this man and saw something good, she stays. The woman who survives, she leaves him behind." The club's lights seemed suddenly too bright, the room too small. Somewhere in the distance, a glass broke and someone laughed, as if nothing important was happening at all. Jai leaned back, decision already made in his eyes. "You have until tomorrow night to decide. Come back together, I end him. Come back alone, I make good on everything I promised. Don't come back at all," he shrugged. "The city will decide your fate for you." He raised his glass in a slow, mocking toast. "One night," he said softly, "to choose between love and survival." Sandra and Keanu walked out of the club hand in hand, but the space between their fingers felt suddenly fragile, like they were holding on to something the world had already started to take away. The city felt different that night, like it was listening. Streetlights poured pale gold onto wet pavement as Sandra and Keanu climbed the narrow stairs to the diner roof. It had always been their quiet place, a small piece of sky above the noise. Now it felt like a courtroom. They sat side by side on the edge, legs dangling over the brick, the wind cool against their faces. For a long time they said nothing. Words suddenly felt too small for the weight in their chests. "He wants you because you're smart," Keanu finally murmured. "Because you're better than this life, you could actually be safe." Sandra turned to him, eyes shining in the dim light. "Safe is not the same as alive." "You'd be alive," he said. "Your mother would be cared for. You'd have something that isn't built on fear." "And you," she asked, "what do you have if I walk into that club alone?" He looked away toward the blinking red lights on the distant towers. "I have the knowledge that you're not dying because of me. That's more than I thought I'd ever get." The humility in his voice hurt more than any threat. Sandra had seen men brag about the smallest sacrifices. Keanu made the biggest ones sound like duties. His kindness wasn't loud. It was in the way he carried guilt that didn't belong to him, the way he tried to protect strangers in small, invisible ways. "I don't want a life someone bought with your blood," she said. "That's not kindness, it's a trade." He exhaled slowly. "Sandra, look at the math. If I say no, he kills me and still finds a way to use you. If you say no, he kills us both and maybe that shop owner too. If you say yes, at least one good thing comes out of this mess." Her throat tightened. "So my choice is, be selfish and die with you, or be selfish and live without you." He gave a small, sad smile. "Or be brave enough to live well enough for both of us." The wind picked up, tugging her hair across her face. Keanu reached out, gently brushing it back behind her ear. The touch was tender, almost reverent, as if he were memorizing the shape of her. "I used to think courage was walking into a fight you might not win," he said. "Now I think it might be waking up every day without the person you love and still choosing to be kind." Sandra felt tears spill over. "Don't make this sound noble. You're asking me to walk away from you." "I'm asking you to walk toward something," he corrected softly. "Toward a life where you don't have to be afraid of every door that opens." Silence wrapped around them like another blanket. Below, a siren wailed and faded. Somewhere, someone laughed too loudly. The world kept moving, unaware that two people on a rooftop were trying to rewrite their fate. "What if I say no?" she whispered. "Then we face whatever comes," he answered, "together." She studied his face, the bruise darkening under his eye, the cut along his lip, the exhaustion lined into his forehead. He had been fighting alone for so long. She realized that if she stayed, he would breathe easier for a moment but die sooner. If she left, he would break, but maybe live long enough to become the man he wanted to be. The cruelty of the choice pressed against her ribs. The next evening they walked back into the club. This time their hands weren't touching. They both knew why. If they held on now, neither of them would ever let go. Chairman Jai was already waiting, a faint hint of impatience in his eyes. "So," he said, "have you come to beg together or decide like adults?" Keanu stepped forward first. "She's not working for you," he said. "Not in your clubs, not in your offices. If you want payment, take it from me. I'll do whatever you want, just leave her completely out of it." Sandra opened her mouth to argue, but Jai raised a hand to silence her. "That is not the deal I offered," he replied. "And you," he added, turning to Sandra, "do you agree with this heroism?" She straightened her back. "I agree with one thing," she said. "If you force people like him to choose between love and fear, eventually they'll choose nothing. They'll stop caring. Men like that are more dangerous than any enemy you have." A flicker of something passed over Jai's face. It wasn't anger, it was memory. "For years," he said slowly, "I believed power was making people afraid enough to never disobey. Then I buried a brother who believed in second chances. You stand here and remind me of him. It is inconvenient." He walked closer until he stood only a step away from them. "You both misunderstand," he said quietly. You thought I was asking you to choose. I was only watching if you were willing to sacrifice yourselves for each other. His gaze hardened, because now I make the decision. He turned to Sandra first. You will not work for me. I will pay for your mother's treatment. I will arrange documents, studies, a legal job in another country. You leave this city within the week and you never come back. You never speak my name again. You never look for him. Her eyes widened, and Keanu. Jai looked at him, and the room seemed to shrink. You, he said, will disappear in a different way. Tomorrow night there will be a fight in the harbor district. My men will spread the story that you died in it. For my world, you will be gone. For the police, you will never have existed. You will go where I tell you. You will start over with nothing but your hands and your conscience, and you will never try to find her. Keanu's voice came out rough. If I refuse. Jai's answer was simple. She dies first. The words hit like a physical blow. Sandra reached instinctively for Keanu, but the guards had already stepped between them. You wanted a way out, Jai said. This is the only one I offer. No romance, no hero endings, just two lives that might still be useful in a quieter world. He turned away, dismissing them with a wave. You have no more nights to think, he added. Say goodbye now, in my house, under my rules. When the door closes, you live separate lives or you don't live at all. The guards moved aside just enough for Sandra and Keanu to face each other. The seconds suddenly felt sharper than any blade.